Movies based on books. This isn't exactly some surprising revelation. There are several film adaptations that are proud to say their story was taken from existing literature. But sometimes these movies create such a profound identity for themselves that most of their audience can go years without realizing it's actually based on something. The movie Coraline is a very popular example, as well as The Polar Express and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. But by far, one of the most infamous of these has got to be Shrek. You know how those adaptations usually say how it's based on the source material? Well, Shrek is the exact opposite, where the book proudly claims it's what inspired the movie. Interestingly, this wouldn't be the first movie DreamWorks made that was based on a book. How to Train Your Dragon was also based on the novel with the same name. And The Prince of Egypt? Blanking on the name at the moment, but I'm sure it's based on some kind of book. Anyways, today's topic is about one of the more interesting examples from this subject, Over the Hedge. When it comes to DreamWorks films, I feel like Over the Hedge is one of their more underrated movies. It's not amazing by any means, but it's a fun time. And look, I don't think it deserves to be overlooked by everyone, to the point that I've heard more people talk about B-Movie and Shark Tale than I've heard them talk about this movie. So it isn't surprising that a lot of people don't know that the film was actually inspired by a comic strip. And the weird thing is, it's actually a very popular comic. The strip was created in 1995 by cartoonist Michael Fry and T. Lewis. And they couldn't have possibly come at a better time. 1995 was the year Calvin and Hobbes had ended their run, which meant hundreds of newspaper outlets were desperate to fill that void. The two were quickly picked up and put to work. What's interesting is how the comics had evolved as they went on, which is typical for a long-running comic strip. The comics centered around the duo RJ the raccoon and Vern the turtle, two cute animals invading a small slice of suburbia. Sometimes they hunt for food. Other times they pest their neighbors. But most importantly, they just sit around and comment on real-world issues or thought pieces. One way the comic evolved is in its tone. I'll admit, it's brave to have the first strip you put out focus on animals watching sex. Yeah. And again on the second strip. And then watching porn a few strips later, but it would tone down that aspect as the strips went on. The comic would also introduce a ton of other critters to fill its cast, but the only main reoccurring addition is the squirrel Sammy, who would end up filling the third spot of the main cast, turning the duo into a trio. Just a few years later, after the comic's creation, Fox had took a keen interest in them and wanted to turn the strip into a movie. At the time, the studio had an animation department which was meant to rival Disney. But the only two movies the studio put out didn't perform as well as they had hoped, resulting in the animation studio shutting down. Eventually, DreamWorks would get the rights to the IP, and the rest is history. The movie had a similar premise to the comics, and it actually even adapts some moments from them as well, with some notable changes being the character designs as well as Vern and RJ's personality and relationship being altered as well. Especially Vern, as in the movie he's shown to be very cautious and careful, where in the comics he's almost just as bad as RJ. Interestingly, during the movie's early production it seemed like they had planned to make something closer to the comics as suggested by this concept art. I personally prefer the comics designs to what we got in the final film, but you know, I guess it just depends on which version it is, because like most long-running comics, the art style and designs change over the years, with Over the Hedge being no exception. This might be the perfect time to mention something I've been neglecting to talk about since the beginning. While there are many who weren't aware Over the Hedge was based on a comic strip, there are many that didn't know it even existed. But out of those that did know, only a few knew the comic was actually still putting out strips to this day. One strip a day, every day, since 1995. When I researched this, I found it hard to believe that the comic was still putting out new strips daily, no less. But then I saw pages about cryptocurrency and yeah, that confirmed it for me. As I've been binge reading the early comics as well as the more recent ones, I'll say that they've retained the same level of quality all these years later. Much like the movie, the comics aren't really anything amazing. It's a fun time to check out some of them if you're interested. If I kept up with the newspapers, it'd probably be something I'd be looking forward to checking out each week, but That's just me. And, yeah, I think that's all I have to say on this topic. If you'd like to see more videos like this, where I discuss the source material of some animated films, then be sure to let me know in the comments below. Also, subscribing would really help support the content we make. And, yeah, thanks for watching. And we hope to see you in the next video.